Welcome to the AFR Saints channel, where we provide you daily content on your favorite team, the New Orleans Saints. Do us a favor and hit that subscribe button. Be sure to leave your comments below and smash that like button. Who dat? So Mickey Loomis had his annual "you're going to ask questions and I'm going to say nothing about the draft" press conference, pre-draft press conference, as is customary for every NFL GM before the draft. We say it every year. And look, I know as a general rule of thumb, you never want to tell your audience, hey, they're not going to say anything, because that disincentivizes you from listening or watching. So I hesitate to do it, but I have to be honest with you. Why would a general manager, any general manager, 2 days before the draft, after all of the many, many weeks and months of planning and scouting and putting together different bios and strategizing, why 2 days before the draft would a GM sit at a press conference and give you all the answers? I mean, it's all the questions we want to ask. What's your biggest need at 14? Are you going to trade up? Are you going to trade down? Are you going to sit there through rounds 3 and 4 and not draft anybody and wait till round 5? Like, all the things we want to know. But why is Mickey Loomis going to say that 2 days before the draft? Of course he wouldn't. But the assembled media there in New Orleans did ask some other pertinent questions about the roster. And one of them, maybe most interesting, has to do with a player that was really the Saints' target 2 years ago in the first round of the draft. That's Trevor Penning. And we all know Trevor Penning's story. High relative athletic score, Senior Bowl, small school, you better play, checks all the boxes. So they take Trevor Penning, and we know what's happened. I was excited about him in camp and in preseason his rookie year. He got hurt, essentially missed all of his rookie year, and then came back last year, started the season as a left tackle, and it just didn't go well. And so now everyone's looking like, did you bust? Did you just swing and miss and whiff on this guy? And it's even more relevant now because of the Ryan Ramczyk uncertainty with his knee, and you don't have a left tackle, and the likelihood of the Saints sitting at 14 taking a tackle in this very tackle-heavy draft. So Mickey Loomis was asked about Trevor Penning's offseason. This is it's a kind of a relatively short interaction, but listen back and forth with Mickey Loomis and a reporter about Trevor Penning.
Trevor Penning's offseason gone to this point.
Yeah.
You'll still view him as tackle? Is
Yeah.
there a position, maybe another position you would
Yeah,
play?
I think it's gone well, and look, there's a lot of off season left here, and we have a new offensive staff, a new offensive line coaches, and I think they're anxious to get to work with him once we're able to get on the field.
Okay, the most interesting part of that was actually the beginning, where the reporter asked, "Do you still view him as a tackle?" And Mickey Loomis very clearly said, yeah, there was no evasiveness there. So when you think about how the Saints are approaching this offseason, that is a very, 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 very important piece of information, because if the Saints are confident Ryan Ramczyk will return and you've still viewed Trevor Penning as a tackle, that makes drafting a tackle not as important. Please don't misunderstand me. I think they're taking a tackle at 14. They have to. But it makes it less of an absolute, you got to do this here. Again, if you feel like Ramczyk's going to play and Penning can still play tackle. I don't know that either of those things are the case. I think there's a giant question if Ryan Ramczyk ever plays again. I don't think any of us believe Trevor Penning's going to be a tackle. But that's the general manager saying it on the record right there, that they still view Trevor Penning as a tackle. For what it's worth, he was asked again about Ryan Ramczyk. And can you give the update on Ramczyk?
Do you have a good sense of where he is right now?
I think we do, yeah.
Is it similar to what Dennis said last time he talked about it? Like, has anything changed since?
Yeah, no, I don't
last
think
month
anything's
or so?
changed. We got a lot of time left.
Okay, not anything's changed, which is, again, remember, at the Combine, Dennis Allen said that they were confident, right? He was confident on Ramczyk's future. At the owners' meetings, Dennis Allen decidedly less confident, and it really called into question if we ever think he'll play again, so we don't know. But all that to say with Penning is, look, I still think the Saints are taking it. Maybe this is wishful thinking. I've said this for weeks, if not months now, that I would love to see the Saints realistically draft Olu Fashanu out of Penn State. I think that would be the best case scenario of a guy who might be the best or second best tackle in this draft, who could be sitting there for you at 14. If that's the case, awesome. But if that is the case, and let's say Ramczyk comes back or doesn't come back, either way, Trevor Penning has got to be an option for you at guard. And that's not to say necessarily that they're definitively saying he won't be an option at guard, but it's almost like if you approach this offseason with the notion that Trevor Penning is going to be your left guard, it clears the deck, so to speak. Like, okay, whoever you draft at 14 can play tackle for you on the left or right side as a rookie. You got James Hurst coming back, who you know in a pinch can play left tackle for you. And at least you've got the interior of your line solidified with McCoy at center, Ruiz at right guard, and Penning at left guard. And I want to and it's not like this is a far cry. Like, remember, you drafted Andrus Peat, 13th overall out of Stanford. He was a left tackle at Stanford. You drafted him with the eye of making him your starting right tackle. And he couldn't play a lick of tackle. But he ends up playing 10 years at left guard for you. Okay. The greatest or worst, however you want, whatever side of the spectrum you want to look at it on, example of this is Robert Gallery. Robert Gallery was the number 2 overall pick of the Raiders back in 2004. Number 2 overall out of Iowa. Was supposed to be their franchise left tackle. Couldn't move his feet. What did they do? They kicked him inside. He played guard, had a long career at guard. Even more recently, Sam Cosmi. Remember him? He was an offensive tackle at Texas on that 2019 Texas team that LSU played in Austin. Sam Cosmi was their great offensive tackle. Washington drafted him with the eye of making him their starting right tackle. Well, kid couldn't play tackle. The guy couldn't play tackle. So last year, going into the 23 season, Washington slid Sam Cosmi into guard. Like, that's a very common thing in the NFL. You draft a guy with an eye of playing tackle. They can't play tackle. You move him inside. You put him in a phone booth. You let him just go maul people. That's what Trevor Penning should be able to do in this offense. And I'll remind you, you brought in some really good veteran offensive line coaches. You got John Benton there. You've got Rick Dennison. Remember, Jari Evans is on your staff as well as sort of an offensive line assistant coach. Like, you should be able to get Trevor Penning, if nothing else, on the field as a starter in the same way you have Cesar Ruiz. Ruiz is not a great NFL offensive lineman. As far as starters go, he's the bottom tier when you look at PFF grades and all that sort of stuff. But he has become a consistent starting player for you who is available. Penning should minimum be that. And if nothing else, you go into this offseason knowing what the interior of your line would look like. Then you're going to add the 14th pick, and then we'll see what happens with Ryan Ramczyk at right tackle. Best case scenario, Penning's your left guard, Ramczyk's your right tackle, and whoever you draft 14 overall is your starting left tackle and becomes your franchise left tackle for a decade. That's a best case scenario. But even if it doesn't work out like that, if Ramczyk isn't able to play, you can still play Penning at guard, and whoever you draft can play one side of the line of scrimmage. And maybe it's Hurst. Maybe you re-sign Pete, and he can help you at left tackle. Point is, you got options. But you have to be at least willing to consider the possibility of Trevor Penning being a starter for you at offensive guard. I think that should be a possibility for Trevor Penning, but we'll see as we move along. Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact, and be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.